Drop it.
Hi everyone, this is Yugansh. Welcome back to the another episode of Nonsense Paradise. And in this episode, I'm with Nikhil Jain. You must have seen this man on LinkedIn, and this is the guy. Nikhil is the one person I still remember that exact moment when he pushed me to start using LinkedIn. उस time तक मैं LinkedIn बिल्कुल भी use नहीं करता था. And we were in China. We were roommates. उस time पे हम roommates से एक ही room share करते थे. And LinkedIn pushed me. Nikhil pushed me कि भाई LinkedIn use कर. And like I still remember that particular moment कि वहां से grow करके now like मैं कहाँ तक आ गया हूँ. So thank you so much Nikhil for that, and thank you for being here. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time.
Thanks,
So
Yugansh.
Nikhil, like, can you quickly introduce yourself to all the viewers?
Hi, guys, and all other people. So, I'm Nikhil, 29-year-old right now, and quit my Ph.D. I think 6 months before, doing my startup in education segment. I'm currently in Mumbai, and yeah, it's a bootstrap startup that I'm doing. I come from a humble background from Kolkata. Did my engineering from IIT BHU Varanasi. Yeah, as one of those kids in the family who actually fought with their parents to do IIT, to get into engineering. So, and yeah, after that, it was a very interesting journey of 5 years of engineering. Taught me a lot of things, and then went into research, and then now in startup. So I was a researcher turned entrepreneur. You know,
So Nikhil, I know you're this thing, the startup journeys. So what I want to ask you is that like back in those school days or college days, क्या उस time पे भी यही चीजें दिमाग में रहती थी कि like were you aware that you want to start something on your own कि यार entrepreneurship is something which you want to pursue?
I think school days में if अभी अगर I can self reflect myself, some years back, class 6 7 में मेरा पहला entrepreneurship experience बहुत interesting था. Class 5 में पहली बार मुझे कंप्यूटर मिला घर पे एंड एक इंग्लिश प्रोजेक्ट था जिसपे रिसर्च करके एक प्रोजेक्ट बनाना था कुछ चाइनीज बाउंड फीड कस्टम्स पे एंड मुझे इंटरनेट बहुत अच्छा लगने लगा गूगल सर्चिंग वाज वेरी फैंटास्टिक टू मी तो मैं सर्च करा मैंने अपना प्रोजेक्ट बनाया पावर पॉइंट खोला सब कुछ अच्छा लग रहा था इट वाज रियली इंटरेस्टिंग और मैं घंटों भर कंप्यूटर पे बैठ बैठ के मैंने अपना प्रोजेक्ट एक हफ्ते में बना लिया जो कि 3 महीने का प्रोजेक्ट था और उसके बाद मेरे पास टाइम बहुत बच गया वहीं पे मैं देख रहा था मेरे फ्रेंड्स स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे कंप्यूटर से उनके पास खुद के पास लैपटॉप्स था बट उनको प्लेटफॉर्म्स और ये प्रोडक्ट्स चलाने नहीं आ रहे थे माइक्रोसॉफ्ट पावर पॉइंट गूगल सर्चेस एंड ऑल तो मैंने ऐसे एक रैंडम थॉट में बोल दिया कि यार मैं तुम्हारा प्रोजेक्ट बनाता हूँ तुम मेरे को भेलपूरी खिलाना that was a incentive barter that I started with. And that bhelpuri after 10 projects got converted into $50 and then $100. Then I ended up making it, I think it was like class 7, so somewhere around 10 to 15 years back, if I'm correct, more than 15 years back actually. So I made close to 400 500 bucks and I almost like half of the class, I made the projects for them. So that was my first entrepreneurial stuff.
So you were
I
a
did
rich,
in class 7 also.
you were
Yeah.
a rich back then.
Yeah, it felt like that. I think the second thing that the second time I actually did it more professionally when the art and craft classes that used to happen in our school days, and I was
Yeah.
really good with art and craft. So there was a wonder wall kind of a thing that the teacher used to give us to make, and I somehow cracked the thing how to make beautiful wonder walls, and I made it using rubber balls. Very interesting. My relatives actually took it from me for giving $100 at that point of time it really mattered a lot and that point of time I made it for a lot of people I did a wrong thing actually so I lost my second rank I was placed 7th in the class that was a thing but I think my mom was a little proud of being a marwadi there and being an entrepreneur at the same time so yeah that was my initial entrepreneurial experiences in
Right,
school
right.
I guess.
So could you like please tell us more about this foreign admits, the journey
Yeah,
of
I think
admit.
the journey of ForeignAdmits actually started in my second year with my first formal startup in second year. I went to IIT Bombay doing my research intern, and I found out during my internship, since I was writing my research paper, so I found out a lot of these researchers were struggling with writing their papers and their resumes, also their cover letters and all. I used to write for them sometimes. So I figured out what's the problem. These guys are good researchers, but they are not good, English folks. They have good research, but they don't know how to communicate. I'm not even stressing on the English, but I'm stressing on the communication factor. So that's where I found my first company, Edit Engine, which ran for a year. It gave me an insight to writing cover letters, writing resumes, writing SOPs. And that's where I figured out people are crazy about foreign interns studying abroad. And I had also a dream to study abroad, which unfortunately didn't happen in the 5 years of my college. But in that process of having planned to study abroad, I did a lot of research, finding out the right professors for my applications, helping my friends to write their SOPs, helping my friends write their scholarship applications. So those were the things that got me an understanding that yes, here people need a lot of guidance. And when I graduated, I was doing my own PhD. I had a good funded PhD because of these researches. I had a good funded PhD because I had few good mentors in my life who helped me to find that kind of PhD program, you know. And all these things summed up together in my mind until I met my co-founder online. So I had already this idea. I spent 2 years researching about the right professors. I found out 2,000 plus professors in this industry. Can't there be any technology which can help me find out the right courses, the right professors, right projects with just one click of a button? We live in technology. We have technology everywhere. Data sciences, AI, and kind of simplifying the thing. So I was being a non-techie. I had this aspiration: can't technology take over this hurdle of mine? And that's where I met my co-founder online on LinkedIn, and he had a very similar vision of solving it through mentorship. And we already saw, as I said, I was already in business informally of helping students to go abroad by writing their SOPs, helping them do the research part of it. So we just started it off, as a beta side project. And then slowly it kicked up. 2017, I started off this idea. 18, 19, we were just doing informally all the beta tests and all. 19, we realized the importance of the thing. We launched the platform. It started, getting off. And I think 3 months I've been working full time into the company. We have placed almost like 100 plus students abroad to Rice University, Cornell, Oxford, and so many more good universities. And when I get calls from their parents, they're so happy with the kind of admits that they get, kind of helps us to be, more contentful is the kind of work that we're trying to do. However, on the side, the differentiating factor that we're trying to bring in, because you all know there is a huge amount of education consultants out there in the world and in India. Every nook and corners in the city, you will find study abroad, study in USA, and all these education consultants. So what I felt while doing this process myself, that there is a bias in this guidance. You know, Education consultants are more interested to push you to the colleges where they get a commission from, wherein the guidance aspect totally gets lost or it becomes constrained or restricted. You know, so that is where foreign admits using data sciences, using certain algorithms, helps you find out your fit choices without any constraints. So suppose a consultant has 100 colleges, we have more than 20,000 colleges. So where you will get a right fit college is something that you would understand easily. And getting a college itself is not an easy task, but getting a right fit course for a career which you really want to pursue is an important task. Imagine majority of these students doing engineering and then shifting to MBA, doing FRM, doing CFA again. You know, they were lost in their careers. You do engineering and then you think about what to do next. And that is something, if you again do it in your masters, it's a waste of 2 years and a lot of money. For that reason, we try to bring in the mentorship element where student can speak to their target fields, target university, target industry people, so that they can give them the experiential guidance, something that they have experienced while studying at that college or that course or in that country, to give them a more first-hand experience, which internet doesn't give you very easily. So that is something we try to merge technology with experiential guidance, and that's what I think gives us more organic branding among the students.
And even your personal branding gives, I think, gives you a lot of leads. You have done like really well when it comes to like the academic thing, because if you talk about any average Indian kid, they have a dream of doing their UG from IIT. You have done your UG, PG, then PhD, all from IIT, that too from Bombay, right? So, Nikhil, I know you are doing amazingly well. Your team is really good when we talk about foreign admits. So, it's been like 3 years, I guess, you are running this company, right? 3 years?
Yeah, formally it's been year and a half, and 3 years as a team that we started it off.
Okay. So, why are you bootstrapping till now? What is your take?
Uh, I'll not say that I didn't get funding. That's the first thing we usually expect to, you know. I didn't approach funding a lot early, and I was being more uh, bullish on myself, more because I was more educated actually than the regular entrepreneurs who start out with their idea and just think it's $1 billion idea and people's gonna fund you. Thankfully, I've attended a lot of these events like APIA and HPAIR. It gave me a lot of learning to what stage that entrepreneur should go for the funding. So I wanted to have more traction. I wanted to have more confidence in my business process, in my business model. And that's something I learned it from the investor that if you have traction, any investor would come, to fund you. You just need to make a good company, having a traction and having fundable metrics. So as I'm speaking right now, the fundable metrics, a lot of things goes into the process of it. At an
Yes.
early stage startup, you really don't have any processes. You just go haphazard way, and that's something as a learning curve we had also in the company when we started going from a haphazard, entropy full startup with no process to a scaling a process oriented venture. So that's where I transform my startup to a smaller company.
Yes, so as we were talking about investors, so I talked to a lot of especially student entrepreneurs as we come from the same ecosystem. So there are a lot of people they don't even have MVPs, they have very raw ideas and they are looking for investments. The first thing that even we have made this perception, yeah, if some company is raising funds for successful company है, right? If any XYZ company is raising funds, series B कर लिया, so जरूरी नहीं है कि वो profitable company है, right? बट ये चीज एक परसेप्शन बन गई है। अगर हम किसी कंपनी को देखते हैं उन्होंने कोई सीड फंड या सीरीज ए क्लोज करा है तो हमें लगता है कि हाँ यार ये बहुत बढ़िया कंपनी है, राइट? व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर, सो स्टूडेंट जो स्टार्टअप्स हैं, द फर्स्ट थिंग व्हिच कम्स इन देयर माइंड इज इन्वेस्टर्स कहाँ से लाएं। बट इफ एनीवन कम्स टू मी डायरेक्टली, मैं तो हमेशा ये बोलता हूँ डोंट रन फॉर इन्वेस्टर्स, इन्वेस्टर्स खुद आ जाते हैं इफ यू आर डूइंग फेयरली वेल, राइट? जस्ट फोकस ऑन द प्रोडक्ट। सो व्हाट इज योर टेक ऑन दैट?
I think you know the game. Idea stage में funding मिलना, it's very difficult. Okay, let me be very honest here because I have had two companies at one time, before, where this one company, the other company that I had gotten investment before even the product has been made at a not even a POC properly made, but something as a rough POC, I would still say, you know. And all these things is possible because of few reasons. If you're at an idea stage and you feel there is a possibility of funding, you need to have certain check marks done. Number one, it has to be an IP driven company. If there is an IP that is a possibility in your venture, you may get funding at an idea or a POC stage. Okay. And again, let's not talk funding as a venture capitalist or angel investor. It could be any kinds of funding. Okay. Number two, your idea has to have a breakthrough innovation. Let's say bioplastic, making bioplastic from any kinds of waste. You know, that is a breakthrough innovation. Okay. Number three, it has to be a huge market for which the investor is gonna be worried if they don't invest in. So bioplastic is an alternative to plastic. So you can understand the kind of market I'm talking about. So, and then your team. Is your team really, really capable enough? We were both PhDs. My other co-founder was a bioscientist, and she had invented it. Let's not say she has made it. She has invented the whole formula. So she was an inventor in that space. But still, it took almost a year to get right kind of investment offers. At some point of time, we had 4 to 6 investment offers, but we had merits. We won the best startup award all over the world in clean tech challenge in London Business School. More than 760 startups we competed globally. I actually didn't realize that at that point of time, but now when I reflect it was a huge achievement in the UK. We were the top 15 startups in the entire world called by Portugal Embassy and the Gulbenkian Foundation in one of the biotech incubator come accelerator program. So those were the 2 3 big awards that actually put in a trust among the investors that yes, these guys are doing something that we should listen to, and because of which we have gotten interest of many angels, many big VCs also, and popular angel investors that you may see with the safe notes model and all. you know
Yes.
so we have gotten those interests, but there's a caution. You need to know whom you are raising from. That is something we can cover it, that you know getting money is not the priority. Getting the right capital, right resources, not in just form of capital, right network, right understanding of the investor is really helpful, because of which we had to say no to 4 investors at the very early stage, offering us from 25 lakhs to even 4 crores of funding, at some point of time. So that was my experience with the idea state startup getting funding. Now coming back to foreign admits. In this, we have traction, we have customer numbers, we have more than 5,000 students registered, 150 customers totally served, 50 plus paid customers this year, close to, let's say, 10 15 lakhs of revenue made. In this point of stage, we are still not getting the right investor. We are getting investors now. We have actually gotten certain good investors, but getting a right fit investor is very important. How would you track it? Based on the equity that they want, based on the board seat, based on the terms of agreements, based on the support that they want to give. All these things matter. So in foreign admits, it's not as fast to raise funds as Fabio. That was my previous company. But then we are happy bootstrapping for a while till the time it is kind of a mandate for us to raise funds. And again, you can always survive your company at a certain growth while bootstrapping. You just need to be working hard and use brains, because when there is no money in the pocket, then actually the growth hack comes in. Then actually you start thinking to make money. When there's a lot of money in the pocket, then you start only on the focusing on the growth. You don't think about making money. So those were the things for which I usually recommend students to build a POC. Do all the beg, borrow, steal that you can. Figure out a co-founder. Convince them. My CTO worked with me for almost 12 months without any equity. With just a handshake agreement. If he comes on board, he gets an equity. And all the platforms that we have has been built by him. The interns worked with me for almost 7 to 8 months without any stipend. How does that happen? We don't exploit them, but those are the people who are committed to work with us. So that kind of commitment happens once you are very much convinced with your own idea. You do business model canvas, 9 Mile Labs, all the exercises. It's everything there free online, javelin.com. There are a lot of sites that you can go through. There's a lot of free education that is there. You don't need to pay to learn entrepreneurship. Again, saying that with a big disclaimer, I'm into education industry. Tomorrow you might want to do MBA in entrepreneurship. I'll not recommend that. Okay. The thing that I want to say, entrepreneurship is learned easily by your own self, by trying things out. If you are having an idea, I did my first website without even writing a code, and I did a business of 6 to 7 lakhs solely through that. To do business, you may not need even technology. Figure out the processes that you need to have in that idea. Try to see if there is a person who is willing to pay for the solution that you design. Try to find 10 to 15 customers on those idea. Sell them that idea or the problem that you're trying to solve. There's a lot of framework that we can see. The business model canvas is the right framework, or the lean canvas rather. Focus lean canvas and you would be through, but focus it honestly. What I see with the students, they have an idea, they have all the business plan, then they try to fit into the lean canvas. Don't jump the steps. First figure out whether that idea is really worth pursuing or not. If you figure out that problem, it may not be the same problem that you are solving. We started foreign admits on a different note. We are now at a very different phase in foreign admits. There would be always pivoting. If you are okay to pivot at an early stage with a lower cost, it's good to do that. Don't shy away from pivoting from your idea. A lot of startups that I've seen has pivoted and they made a multi-million-dollar businesses also, and gone to YCs and all those things. So, and again, point number one is don't rush for the investors. Rush for the customers. You should have customers first in your pocket. Investors will always come to it.
Right, right. And I'm sure like this thing is going to help a lot of early stage ventures. So Nikhil, I want to go back a little when you were talking about your introduction. So you dropped your PhD. Why did you like why someone dropped their PhD? Like after doing UG, PG, you are into PhD, that too at IIT Bombay. Why is that?
Um, I'll just give a little bit more gravity to it. So I was a interested researcher. I had written, I think, 4 to 6 national and international publications. Even gotten the chance to write a couple of international book chapters reviewed by late Dr. Kalam and Dr. CNR Rao. So research was something I really wanted to pursue, and because of which I got into PhD with my own interest to do a project which I was interested to do it. But then the journey has not been the same which I imagined. PhD is not very easy to do. This is again a message to all the people who think PhD is a good way to get funded abroad education. Trust me, it's not going to be easy to get the PhD. And even if you get the PhD, the 5 years or 4 years completing the research, it's never going to be easy. It's a lot of mental preparations that you need to do and a little bit of financial preparations also. It takes you on a toll. So when I was doing my PhD, I secured 10 pointer in all the courses. It's a kind of a gold medalist student, doing very well. And I felt there is a lot of organizational issues in India to do PhD, because of which a lot of PhD students are usually lost in their researches. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're doing their research. They don't even know what's the practical implications of it. A lot of people are more motivated to publish papers because that's going to help them clear their PhD. The professors are more inclined towards more publications, more PhDs, because that's going to give them the promotions. But then the why factor of doing that PhD or doing that research is usually missed out, because of which we see a high unemployment among the PhDs also. You would have seen a news, I think, a year back for a peon job in government, more than 2 lakh PhDs applied, which was utterly shameful. But that's a case in Indian PhDs predominantly. People doing PhD for 7 to 8 years are not able to complete it, and then because of a lot of other factors also, I'll not name them, but mental health is something that is really taking a big factor nowadays in people leaving PhD. PhD is already a lonely journey, and lack of organization, lack of proper resources, lack of communications creates a lot of mental pressure. I was even diagnosed with depression during my PhD, despite being very energetic and a lot of entrepreneurial attitude. I still had issues with depression, which got me awareness to pivot in my PhD also. I did pivoted twice in my PhD to find out the right projects. But then in the end, when I was doing my startup in parallel, I could figure out that I'm more attracted toward innovations which are more impactful on a real world problems, which I can see it. So the project was really good. It is something for in India, and I designed the project. But then I figured out the priorities have changed. This is something I felt, if I can help other PhDs to find the right purpose, that would be a far bigger, achievement for me. If I can help more other people understand why they're doing MTech or MS, that would be a bigger achievement for me. So that's one of the reasons that I felt, and that's something that happened when I was in Australia. A very funny incident. I went to Australia and I be there for a few months, and then again I came back. 3 years I've been in India. I didn't get this, realization. Few months in Australia, and I felt I'm doing the right thing by dropping out. So my dropout was very, very thought upon as a decision. I did discuss with a lot of people. I did all the valuation, SWOT analysis, and all. But in the end, the gut feeling said it. It's good to drop it, no matter what you're gonna do in life. But this is something you should not be doing it. And that's where I took a leap of faith and I dropped my PhD, uh, surviving on my savings. A lot of things that I learned during my PhD have saving really helped. And yeah, so it was a well informed decision.
So like what was your family reaction when you like called them and said that I'm dropping my PhD?
Uh, I would say that they are a little bit accustomed to it because when I was graduating from IIT BHU, I was placed day one. I had more than 28 job offers. And when I called my dad that, hey, I'm not taking any of the jobs, that was the first time he actually got shocked. Because I come from a very modest, struggling background in terms of finances is concerned. There have been stories that I've posted that, I survived a couple of months of my college with just 114 bucks. And from there, I've seen a journey to earning 1.5 lakhs in my college. So I've seen those struggles. My parents have well acknowledged that and been very supportive. So when I said them that this kind of situation and I'm not taking a job, they were already struggling to understand them. But that's where they have seen certain instances of my decision making when I was fighting with them to get into IIT and to prepare for IIT J, and I fortunately got into IIT. That was the first instance that I have gotten them the confidence that, hey, my decision making is somewhere good. Let me try that out. So I took PhD. It was decent. They were always very extremely supportive to me. So the time when I was leaving my PhD, actually my mom called me and she said, if you're not happy with this, don't do it. And I was more towards commitment side. I said, no, I've committed to my professor. I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm a man of my commitments. But then I spoke to my professor about this and he said, if you're not happy, then what's the point of commitment? Okay. There's no happiness in commitment. The things won't work out. When I dropped it, my parents were okay. But then they were concerned, do you have a plan? Which they were assuming that I had. I actually didn't have a plan. I had certain things in my mind, but then I felt eventually it will work out because I trusted my hard work and I was of the opinion that I'm shameless fellow. After 4 years or 3.5 years of gap, if I had to do a job of let's say 30, 40,000 bucks a month to survive myself, I'm okay with that. I'll do the startup part time till the time I can fund, or else I can take a leap of faith and do the startup. I took a leap of faith. I had certain savings, all these things. I convinced my mom, and she was very happy. पापा को थोड़ा समझाने में दिक्कत हो रहा था, but then mummy is the deciding factor actually in my family, and I've been a mama's boy. So वो चीज के कारण it has been very easy for me. The only thing that my parents were scared is the relatives and all those things because पूरे society में it was the thing you be like Nikhil Bhaiya and all, and when Nikhil's Bhaiya resignation of PhD drops by to the neighbors in mailbox, everyone got shocked. So
Don't.
that was a thing to experience.
So निखिल, एक चीज मेरे दिमाग में आई, लाइक काफी लोग ना entrepreneurship या फिर starting a venture, starting a startup, they think that this thing is very glamorous, right? Do you agree?
uh, it's very funny actually. I never found startup to be glamorous. I never did it for any of the girlfriend prospects.
I'll interrupt you here.
Hello?
I'm not talking about like particularly you. I'm talking the general perspective. What people have. Like I interact with a lot of students, as I mentioned. So a lot of students have this perception that starting a venture or having your own startup is kind of a glamorous thing, and certainly it's not.
Yeah, it is not. And the reason I can say it is not is because if you get into the venture, every venture has to become a business. Okay.
Yes.
You have to aim for becoming Tatas or Birlas or Ambanis, not becoming any of the burning companies, cash burning companies, especially when you're not funded even. Okay. Doing a venture is a bold step, respect for that, but that respect lies for a very, very short moment until as you fail in that. And the moment you fail, it's not good to fail, honestly. If anyone is maximizing their failures, I really don't appreciate that. Failing is not good, but at least you took a lesson is the only positive thing that you can have. So when people have seen this as a prospect to be called as a cool dude or to attract more partners into their relationship lives, those are also the funny factors that I've seen people doing a startup or maybe the LinkedIn headlines CEO or the
Yes.
entrepreneur, edupreneur or whatever preneur they want to call them. Uh, in the end, if your unit economics and if your businesses is not surviving, it won't help you, but it will bite you if you are very much honest to it. if you're living in the, that what we heard, I think there's a very interesting term that I remember from the Wolf of Wall Street, Fugazi. If you're, in that airy, silvery dust of startup being cool, the media houses covering you and all those things, maybe someone might have written a good article about you, but in the end, it's all about survivability. As we all know, 95% doesn't survive the 1 year, and 5%, 4.5% or 4% doesn't even survive 5 years also. So
Yes.
if you have to be in that 1% to be able to make things work. So yeah, it's never going to be an easy task. And if you're thinking it's an easy ride with a lot of glamour and fame, I'm sorry, it may not be.
Right, right. So, like, what are the like darkest phase you have seen as an entrepreneur? Like, what are the dark sides of being an entrepreneur?
Uh, it's been a lot of things that I've seen in my other company. The classic issues of co-founders conflicts, tearing apart the company. That could be one of the biggest things. Depression, relationship issues, uh, having like $6.50 in your bank account for the next 1 week, and figuring out how to grab your meal. That's an important thing. Plus, you have to pay your rent. So that could be also one of the issues. Uh, Distancing. You guys might be thinking social distancing is 21 days here. I'm doing it for almost how many years I even don't know.
I can
So
relate.
you can like, I usually don't go out to parties. I usually don't go out to a lot of functions and the meetups or the things until as there's something as a business prospect is there. I don't spend a lot of social time with people without any purpose. I do spend some time with my inner circle of trust where I open up and discuss the things. So with family also, it's been very lately, like it's been months that I've seen my family. So those are the things that you see, a lot of questions that you may be asked, you know, when are you getting married? You're 29 as of now, you know, and then, societies get asking the questions, hey, what are you earning right now? That X guy is earning this much. How much are you earning? You know, those are the questions that you would be asked. Sometimes it would be comfortable. You can say that proudly, that, hey, I'm solving a problem out here for a lot of people. So maybe I'm not earning, but that's fine with me. Sometimes you don't have answers to that. Hey, I don't have any investor yet now backing. I have very limited customers. Cycles are slow. The traction is very low. So, it's okay to be awkward at those points of time. It's okay to be humble. But these experiences actually teaches you how to be humble in those situations, how to be mentally tough, how to have, a strong gut to make decisions. So I appreciate all the dark times that I have, and it also teaches you who is on your side. That's a very big thing that I learned, to understand and evaluate people in the tough times, as what we already know that the good people stick in the tough times. So those are the things that you actually get to know when the tough time comes.
Yes, like even I want to share something here. So there was a time when I was not going out, even if there's someone's birthday or friend's birthday. So I just say I'm busy, and even if I'm not busy, मतलब मैं घर पे I was just staring my screen. I'm just worried about my business. I'm just worried about my startup. But what I say to them is that I'm busy. I have a meeting. I have a call. I have something to do, right? But मैं घर पे कुछ नहीं कर रहा था. I'm just staring at my screen. So वो चीज़ मेरे को बाद में realize हुई काफी टाइम बाद कि I'm just saying no to my friends. Social distancing वाली चीज़ like you mentioned. So even I think the dark side of being an entrepreneur, मतलब, people don't talk about it, and that, like, this is one of the reasons that people see this thing as a glamorous thing to do. They see only the positive sides of being an entrepreneur. They don't see the dark sides, right? There have been tough times, like you mentioned, like having 6.50 rupees in your bank account, right? So just imagine a person. I mean, I can't even imagine having 6 rupees in a bank account, right? So these situations are a like really tough situation. And the last thing you mentioned, that it teaches you a lot about people. Everyone should try something like for a student startup. Everyone should try at least a venture. Doesn't matter how big or how unique it is. At least try, even if you don't like able to build any business, you will be end up being a good employee in a future company, right? So, Nikhil, from your experience, what are the like 3 or 5 tips you want to share with someone who just want to start a startup?
I guess the first tip that I'm gonna give is think again. You know, be very clear that why do you want to do it? Do you have anything in your mind? Think through it. Think through your startup is not a business. It's not a commodity that you can create it. Okay, startup is all about problem solving. Okay, so think through of your problem statement. Validate it. With the customers. Follow all those business model canvas and advice that you may find on the internet. Focus on the problem first. Don't focus on the solutions. You know, and second thing is look out for a right team member. Some startups you may survive being a solo founder, but not in all. You need to have a good team member. So third is build a strong plan. No matter the plan's gonna change after every week, but you need to have a plan in your mind. How do you want to go about it? Fourth is prepare your savings. If you are getting on a journey which is going to be taking a lot from you, and by savings I don't mean only financial, your mental, emotional, financial, physical, every kind of things that you have to save is for that journey. Okay, because it's gonna be drained out for a while. Okay, and yeah, be realistic also. Be realistic. You know, and then if you're taking out an advice or something, because that's a lot of early stage in entrepreneurs do this mistake, finding out mentors, finding out people to guide them, and then they fall into wrong hands. I've seen startups getting destroyed because of this. One tip for finding out the mentor's not going to charge you for at least for the first 3 meetings. Okay, and you only will feel that whether you need to take out his professional time in lieu of something that you want to contribute. Okay, so if a mentor is charging you for the first 3 meetings, he's not the mentor. He might be a consultant, but not a mentor. Okay. So do a background check, no matter how big a person is. Definitely do a background check, and I can tell you from my experiences. A big person also may not be the right person for you, ethically or logically or business wise. So finding out the right mentors is important. Once you figure all these things out, I feel you would be you would be ready and comfortable to get into your startup journey.
So, Nikhil, when you were at IIT BHU, so when you were you were already having like 20 plus jobs, as you mentioned. So, like, how do you know that you really wanted to pursue entrepreneurship? You really wanted to continue with this thing and not going for any corporate job or something?
So there's one thing that I followed in my life. I don't know maybe that I want to do, but I know very sure that what I don't want to do. So I was very clear with my last internship experience in college in one of the corporate come startup company, and I could realize I may not be the right fit as of now to do something which is more like a small process in a big system. Okay. I had more bigger ideas. I had a lot of ideas. Trust me, more than 60, 70 ideas I've written with whole business plans during my college. The only thing that I didn't do is having a right team member. So that's why I didn't started it off. And with my first startup experience, I felt, and with all the startup experiences that I had, I knew that money is something is secondary for me. I was more driven towards solving problems which I like, and I wanted to be my boss. That was something very, very clear to me. I wanted to be my boss, but that was a myth. Actually, customer is the ultimate boss, and maybe at some point of time, investor could be. But yeah, I really wanted to do things my ways, and job is something that I felt, and again, good mentorship helps. I've had a lot of great mentors in my life who helped me understand that what happens in the job life, why people are getting frustrated at certain times, and there was a problem in the job life also. I don't want to demean any of the job, employees and all, because I really feel any good employee can make the business work. Because I do have employee in my startup and company, so doing a job is something it's your choice, but don't do job if you are willing, like if you're dying to do a startup, and don't do startup because job frustrates you. Okay,
Right.
so that is a line of difference that you need to understand. If you're frustrated in the job, startup is not the solution. Maybe you need to introspect, and maybe you need to find the right job. Maybe you need to talk to your managers and 100 other things that you might maybe have to check. Okay. So for me, it was very clear that I don't want to do job. I can earn at any point of time doing maybe a part time, maybe a freelancing, maybe an internship also, or maybe doing certain small businesses out of my understanding and knowledge. I wanted to self explore myself. That's why I took my research first. And then when I really identified a problem which has a solution in my head and which has a team, then I started my startup. I didn't start my startup with just an idea and a business plan. I started when I had a really good team member, a really good co-founder. So yeah, that's one of the reasons that I felt job is something I'm not interested to. But now if you want to ask me that, if I lose everything, let's say in this economic crisis, if things goes bad, I'm never ashamed of doing any job. you know that is
Yes.
something I'm very very flexible about, and it's not a disservice to my startup. If I am not having enough funds to fund my venture when I'm bootstrapping, it's okay to do a part-time job to fund it. It's okay to do a 9 to 5 full-time job, and 5 to 9 you can do your startup. It only takes your commitment and your burning capabilities. How much you can burn yourself when you don't have cash to burn.
Yes, I think, and the people who gave this excuse that they don't have time is, I think, the biggest. Like, it's kind of bullshit, right? I think everyone have time. And Nikhil, one more thing, like as you mentioned, you hire only one intern if you want one intern out of 120 people. So how do you make sure that that one particular person is committed?
We make the processes very difficult. So my process is तरीके से set करता हूँ so that I'll first check the commitment level. As I said, communication and commitment is two things that we value in our company. So if a candidate is not able to communicate properly, he may not be the right fit candidate for our way of working. He might be a talented candidate, but he's not right fit for us. Okay,
Mhm.
and commitment, because if he's committed enough, he will learn how to email. He will learn not to do spelling mistakes in the email. He will try to re-mail also. We have seen and we have interviewed a lot of candidates who have emailed us again with an apology. Sorry, Nikhil, I did a big mistake in my previous email and I realized it by myself. And I'm again emailing you. Can you please consider my application? We appreciate those honesty in those applications. And
Yes.
yes, we try to mention certain details also in our job descriptions. And if it's a very general job description like content marketing or content writing or full stack development, that we usually see across with the candidates, whether they have an experience or not, whether they have done projects or not. Because in college, I don't give an excuse that you don't have an experience. You can always have an experience by building projects by your own self or by taking someone's project or doing anything, and building certain stuffs. Like people who build stuffs, even if they're in coding or even if they're not in coding or doing any content writing. So you might be having your own blog, even if you're a social media thing, might have your own page or you help your friend's page. So any other thing that you can do for someone, you can mention that. We usually evaluate those things. So those are the things that actually helps us to see. And trust me, out of those 120, 130, people usually get discarded for very silly reasons. No subject, hey bro, or resume in very, very awkward format that we
And
are not able to even understand.
even the file name of resume is something like untitled.pdf or something. This is very informative.
Untitled, the most funny one that I've seen is CVVVVVVVV to the infinity V. I don't know where that V ended. And then someone has put in the Google Drive link of the resume, but forgot to put in the access. And
Yes.
I'm like waiting for the access. So yeah, it's funny, but these are the things. As a recruiter, at some point of time, I would want my process to be made, my task to be made more simpler. If I'm getting simplicity or ease to review your applications, you might have a higher chance to get it reviewed and get a call for an interview or for the task. And yes, our process is very simple. First is a resume review and professionalism review, followed by a task. We never hire without giving a task. That is what you may be calling as a probation period. We call it a task. We give them a task, we give them a timeline to do it. That is a very big differentiator among the committed ones. If they really like the internship, if they really like us, they would do the task and we evaluate the task. We give them an honest and gentle feedback on improvements and all those things. That is something we put in time. That's difficult, but that's important because they have put in efforts to do those tasks. If someone has copied, pasted it, he never review that for sure. But yeah, after the task, they get proceeded for the final interview, or maybe if there are two more rounds of interview, that happens. But all these process roughly takes 7 to 15 days for us. So yeah, that's how we hire. So yeah, and then interviews are again very much grilling. I remember our first full time, and we are really lucky to have him. We grilled him for almost like 3.5 hours of interview, and there were two rounds of interview. First was half an hour, and then the second one was 3.5 hours. And we are blessed by him, by having him on the team. Actually, yeah, those are the things that we value in our.
Right, right. So Nikhil, at this point in time, we are talking about like hiring or expanding your team. So I want to go back a little and I want to like ask you how someone should go about forming their team when they are just starting out. Let's say if I'm starting a venture, I know like when usually someone gives an advice that you go and check with your friends and family. So I know my friend circle is not like they are not into building startups, or I know they're not capable of, or maybe their thinking is different from mine, their mindset is different from mine. So what should one do in this situation?
For me, it was very different, so I'll not mention that. The best way is, yes, the first connect basically your inner circle, your batchmates, your school friends are the number one. The number second is their friends, their circle. That is the second circle. The third one is friends of friends of friends. That's how you go, and for that you actually need to network. Networking is something that we undervalue because of which we struggle. Again, there are professional platforms which is designed to introduce you to certain people who could be like-minded, could be equally passionate, you know. But it is difficult, you know, to find the first initial set of team. And it's also a good exercise whether you can sell your idea to someone. I remember, selling my idea of making bioplastic from waste to such an extent that my co-founder quit the PhD to do that. So, imagining someone quitting the PhD in their second year and doing the venture with me. So, you need to have some seriously good selling skills of the idea. So, that is a test for you also to do it. And the second thing is, I sold this particular thing to the employee also. You need to be really, really good seller of your idea, your vision. Money is not the thing. Again, I'm saying money is not the driving factor for the initial set of team members. And as I quoted before, my CTO worked with me for almost like 12 months without having equity or pay. You know, and he's been earning like 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakhs a month. He doesn't give a shit about pay. He cares shit about the culture. He cares a shit about the kind of work that he's doing, the kind of vision that we have. All those things are really important. So with the hiring the interns also, the commitment, the vision that you share, the clarity that you have, you are the ones who are going to be selling your idea to first the customer, the second to the potential team members. And you need to be really convinced with your own idea so that you can convince them on the other side that, hey, this is a great journey. I'm the great guy. I'm the great, sailor to this boat on a
Yes,
journey to maybe $1 million company, So you must ride on, no matter what, I'm going to take care of you. So the co-founder, it's like a marriage. It's absolutely like a marriage. If you're finding a co-founder, you're actually finding your spouse, but not in the religious or the family customs.
yes, and startup is no less than like having a baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we came to an end with this, Nikhil. So thank you so much, Nikhil, for giving us your time. It's a really, really, really long episode. So thank you so much, Nikhil. Thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. It was a lovely talking to you. Thank you again. So if you want to follow Nikhil, go to the description. You can find all his social media links in the description. Go and follow him. If you want to poke him, if you want to start something, if you have questions for him, go and poke him. Feel free to message him. Feel free to connect with him. And it was a pleasure talking to. Thank you so much, Nikhil, for giving us your valuable time. Thank you so much.